Fuji Sports. Listen, they've been working with us for a while now. Particularly, they've been supporting and sponsoring this show for over a year. And they have some cool stuff going on their website, don't they?
They always have cool stuff. Amazing gear. Anything you would need for your jiu-jitsu journey, you can find at fujisports.com. But just scrolling through right now, apparel, obviously, gis, bags, anything you could possibly ask for, you can find at fujisports.com.
Hey, it's been a while since we started RŌL TV project.
It's been a while since you started it. I did come in later, and I can't say enough about it, especially the new platform. It's really amazing, fully customizable, and you know a little bit more about the structure.
Well, so two things you need to know. One is the subscription service, which is $9 a month. You can get access to hundreds of videos, hundreds of drills, techniques, and so on in a very nice library categorized as you need them. But two, different lessons. You can actually purchase those individually and you own them. So the subscription is not tied to it at all. You can look at things like spider guard, half guard sweeps, half guard chokes, folding pass, and so on. There's so many of them out there. So take a look and see where you need help with the videos, right? 30%. If you type in RŌL Radio as a code.
Who doesn't like saving money? Go to rolacademy.tv. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please remember to hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you do listen. That ensures that we can continue bringing you the great guests and amazing content that you have come to expect. On this episode, we have another amazing competitor, an Alliance black belt under Fabio Gurgel, Fabio Caloi. Fabio joins us from a beautiful Brazilian backdrop to discuss his training regimen, what it means to train smart, not hard, what it takes to be a world champion, his amazing recovery from hip surgery to major competitions, and why you cannot compare yourself to others while on your own path. Here is the RŌL Radio with multi-time gold medal winner, including IBJJF South American Champ, Pan American Champ, and European Champ, Fabio Caloi.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
That was weak. Oh, that reminds me of something. Yes.
We are live. That was the weakest clap in the world.
It was. And you know what's funny is that reminds me of something I was going to bring up is I was listening to another podcast.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the pressures of the clap before the podcast.
You have no idea the pressure that I'm under to clap correctly.
I know. I think that's why you always used to forget to hit the record button because you were so concerned about the hand clap that you would forget to reach over and hit record.
Thankfully now we have a responsible person such as yourself.
Well, we split. I finally built enough confidence in you
to press a button.
You and me to actually let me press a button.
To press a button. Yeah.
Yes. And so far so good.
Let's just be honest. If I clap badly,
yes,
the episode will go on. If you don't press the button,
it'll still go on. Just nobody will hear it.
Nobody will know that
it'll be a special episode for just the three of us.
Yeah,
you, me, and the guest.
Yeah, nobody. Yeah. Well, press the button. I want to see.
It's red. It's working. We're already a couple minutes into this, so why don't we get started with the guest?
You doing good? Coffee?
Yeah, coffee and my awesome. Do you want me to bring it up?
You can.
My
you like.
Awesome Yeti BJJ Fanatics mug that I got from you as a gift, you and Carrie.
Yeah, wow.
It's got my Coach Gary on the back of it, and I love it. I love it. I'm trying not to use it too much for coffee, though, because then, coffee, you get that taste in there. I like to use it more for water, but it's fantastic. I love it.
You got to get yourself another one, then you can split them.
Get two?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What should I put on the other one?
I don't know.
Handsome?
Coach Gary number 2.
Number 2? No, just handsome. I think handsome. Everybody will know it's mine. They'll know not to touch it. It's handsome.
I don't know.
All right, let's enough of this nonsense.
Things get weird around here. Fabio, thanks for being here. How are you?
Hey guys,
how is Brazil? I see a beautiful background behind you. What's the temperature over there right now?
Man, in I don't know Fahrenheit, right? So in Celsius, kind of 28 or 30 degrees.
Oh, that's pretty. Right. That's pretty warm. Yeah, that's pretty warm.
Yeah,
that's probably like
warm,
80s, 90s. Yeah, 80s, 90s Fahrenheit. Yeah.
Yeah, weather is pretty nice. But man, I really like that mug. Yeah, I saw you bringing that up. Yeah, man.
That's nice.
I can feel it. Just from a sip there, you can learn from some jiu-jitsu. That's it.
I think if I keep surrounding myself with enough of the jiu-jitsu accompaniments, I might actually get good at it.
I don't know if you noticed, but the moment you gave Gary a compliment, his head got bigger.
Yeah, I'm going to need new headphones. It's getting all stretched out here.
Well, so how are things going in Brazil? Are you right before we start recording this? You said you were visiting. You're taking a little vacation. Is that what it is? You taking a little break?
Yeah, and now it's like carnival holidays here in Brazil. So today's the last day of carnival, actually. So but most people start working from noon, till 6 p.m. from Wednesday on. But I decided to take like the whole week as a break, because like I had like this last month, I had a really tough month because I was training too hard for ADCC trials. I had 2 competitions, and after the competitions, man, I was destroyed, bro. I was destroyed. I tried to recover the first week, but second week I started training again, and I wasn't feeling good still. A lot of injuries, like muscles all fatigued, so it was kind of hard, so I decided to take a break.
Well, you bring up something really important because, jiu-jitsu as is, it is a physical contact sport, and there is a physical component of training jiu-jitsu, especially if you're venturing into the competition scene, right? Performing on the highest level is very important. What's your train of thought about training, recovery, nutrition? How do you set yourself for success when it comes to that, especially with the high success that you've had in your competition career?
Yeah, actually, before, like all this, the science behind the sport for all sports, right? Not only jiu-jitsu, but the science for all sports, it has developed a lot in the last maybe 10 to 15 years, right? Mm-hmm. So before, when I was like a blue, purple, and brown belt, I just wanted to train like a madman, I would train like 2-3 times a day, and yeah, like Meow style, like train with injuries, this is really good because it took me to a really good level of jiu-jitsu, and I think everyone should do this some years on their careers, you know what I mean? But that's not particularly too smart, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's good for developing skills, but at the same time, you kind of beat up your body a little too much. And for the long run, I think it's smarter to train smarter, right? Not to train harder, to train smarter.
So what does that? And what does that mean to you? What does training smart mean to you? So it's like if you are talking to a student who's never done jiu-jitsu or they've never done competition, maybe they have some experience, but they are about to go into their first competition, and you tell them train smart, not train hard. What does that mean?
Yeah, like the training smart is much up to the leaders. Also, it's not only for the athlete. I think that the coaches need to drive their athletes to a smart training. For example, I used to wake up really early in the morning, like teach, and then I would go to the gym, do like a 1 hour drilling with Thomas Lisboa, my friend who nice. you had a podcast. Yeah. We would drill together, and then we used to train at noon. So we would take like a 2-hour competition class, and it was freaking hard, man. It was freaking hard. And after that, we would like lunch at 2-3 p.m. and then go to CrossFit at 4. And after that, I would go to another competition class at 8, So that was so hard, you know what I mean? So I was just trying to take my max every time. But sometimes, man, like it's better when you drive your students to do more like one day you can go hard, but next day you can go like do more specific training, like always be aware of the athletes, of how tired they are, so you can like be flexible on the regime. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
So, and before, man, Yeah, before, and even nowadays, I see a lot of coaches, man, like they start training without even warming up, you know. And have you ever seen a professional sport, a professional athlete on any sport that doesn't warm up?
No, that's only in jiu-jitsu.
Only jiu-jitsu, right?
Especially when they are purple belts and they are skipping their warm-ups.
People like to just go inside the mat, you know, they go in the mat, like do like 2 shoulder rolls, and then they just slap hands, slap and bump, and start rolling, start doing like hard stuff, you know what I mean? And I don't think that's smart. I think we should take care of our bodies, you know, do like mobility training, warm up, you know, get your body ready, and then you start doing all the crazy stuff we do, you know.
But so you talk about, let's dig deeper into this. So you talk about training in the morning, or, you know, teaching a class, training in the morning, going to CrossFit, doing some mobility, teaching another class, going to another advanced class. There's a lot of layers. And I think few of us, we have the opportunity to do this because that's what we do for a living, right? We at the academy all day long. We have not much else to do. We can do as much jiu-jitsu as we like. But majority of people, they don't have that. They have a job that they have to go to during the day or night, whatever it is, and then they do jiu-jitsu, you know, 1 or 2 hours a day, you know, and then handful times a week. What do you tell those guys? You know, they shouldn't compete. They shouldn't do any of that.
Man, I think everyone should compete, you know, but like I believe people need to understand where they are at, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to have like a full-time job and like train there to go against Meregali, you know what I mean? You won't beat him. You know, if you want to beat the best, you know, you have to, you know, give your life to that. You know, it's going to be really hard for someone to do like a partial jiu-jitsu, and then they think so I think that's what's maybe the master's division is for, you know. I don't think a 30-year-old guy is too old, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like a 30-year-old guy is really young, actually. But I think they created that vision so people who work, who have, you know, people who have another jobs, they can participate on a competition with people on their level. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you go to any open here in Brazil, any open as adult division, is gonna be really hard. You know, you're gonna see a lot of killers. So,
and that's because most of these guys are one in top of their shape, 2 they're in their 20s, and 3, a lot of them focus professionally on jiu-jitsu, meaning they train multiple times a day, and they if they have a job, it's something on the side. Jiu-jitsu is their primary focus. Is that why?
Yeah, that's it. And I see that in every belt, you know, not only black belts, but I see that a lot of really tough blue, purple, and brown belts who just live by jiu-jitsu, you know. Sometimes they don't even have like an income, you know, but they still go, you know what I mean?
Isn't that interesting how, you know, 20 years ago when we were starting, really, when you wanted to, well, first of all, nobody was professional. There was no such thing as professional jiu-jitsu. But if you want to be serious about jiu-jitsu, if you want to compete, it was kind of towards the brown or black belt level. And today even white belts are almost like professionals. They train multiple times a day. And, you know, I mean, blue belt divisions, some of those divisions are stacked. They are just powerful guys who have really good skills. Isn't it crazy how that all has grown over time?
Yeah, man. The skill level on jiu-jitsu is crazy right now. I see like for example, the Mendes brothers kids, you know, these guys, you know, they move like adults, you know what I mean? They're killers, man. And you see guys from Manaus as well, like they're really talented. They move like us, you know, like professionals, you know what I mean? And they're like only 10, 11. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. I can't see where this sport's going to get, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. Thinking about the 10-year-old could embarrass you and tap you on the mat.
I think of it,
mop
Yeah.
the floor
Yeah.
with you.
Man,
and
every time.
if you see like Kolabati, man, this guy is like 16. He beat a lot of really good guys.
Yeah,
Man.
every
Yeah.
time.
Could you imagine that?
Every time a kid moves up from the kids' classes into the adult class, I'm always like giving them the side eye. Who's this? Actually, I know who they all are, and some of them I'm worried about. Some of them I know they can't handle the pressure. So, but yeah, I mean they're amazing, and even in here in this academy where they're not really competing, they're just here 3-4 days a week. It's amazing to see, a 15-year-old skill level and what they can do in this sport now.
Yeah, man, we have to beat them up while we still can.
Well, that's what I always
get
say.
into their minds, man. Let's get into their minds.
That's what I always say, because once I get older and they get older, they're gonna be
We're in trouble.
they're gonna be destroying me. I mean, that's
When did you guys start training?
I've only been doing it a few years now under Thomas, but Thomas, go ahead.
22 years for me.
22. So we started in
2000.
2000. Yeah, I started 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a kid,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so
Yeah, I was 14. 14.
We just had Carlos Maya on, and to go back just a minute, he was talking about when he was coming up and really heavily competing. Everybody was still focusing on their education, what they were going to do after school, but the jiu-jitsu was a super serious hobby. And I'm wondering, do you feel like your generation is the first one where that may have started flipping, where now it's, jiu-jitsu is the focus, jiu-jitsu is the career, jiu-jitsu is what I'm going to make of my life. And, maybe there's something on the side, the business degree or whatever. So as you age out of competition, you'll have something else to do. Is that, you think your generation is the first one to make that shift?
Probably. I think in every generation we had some guys who made that shift, but not as much as the years progressed. I think more and more people started to do that. I think maybe on my generation it was like a really big shift of people who were just doing jiu-jitsu, right? Like I remember when I was purple or brown belt, the Miao brothers, they were my belt also, and they were some guys who started a movement like this. They would say like, if you want to be good, you just have to do that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of guys start to follow that up.
So
yeah.
So speaking of that, what in your mind, what does it take to be a world champion? What do you
be a world champion?
What do you need to do to be the best of the best on the very top?
I think a guy who, how you say that, characterizes that, so someone who's like a role model on that is Cobrinha, in my opinion. A guy who's like devoted to that on the highest level I could see. I never seen someone so dedicated than Cobrinha. Like he's crazy. He trains so much, and his whole life is towards being a champion. So he lives that. So he has like the best nutrition. He doesn't go out. He doesn't drink. He just trains and he has like the best consistency. He's been doing that for like 30 years, 20 years, and he was still on the same level of dedication. You know what I mean? I think the main thing to be a champion is to have a regime and be consistent with that. You can't go too hard for like 2 years and be lazy for the rest of your life. So you have to establish a level of commitment for yourself and keep that up for as many years that you can get. You know what I mean? And I think consistency is the key, man. I think that's it.
Do you think everybody can do that? Or this is not for everybody, or they're just selected guys who really can take it to that level?
Man, I think talent is is a really big factor also, you know. I think anyone can get there, you know, but I think some guys are built different, you know what I mean? Like if you get like a guy like Fabio Andre, you know, he used to train with us, and I never seen someone more talented than him, you know. So it's going to be hard for anyone who is on his division. You know, they can try, anyone can be a champion, but to beat a guy who's like training hard and is as talented as he is going to be really hard, you know, to beat a guy like that. But I've seen some guys who are not that talented. Like an example that I can give you is maybe Bernardo Faria, you know. He's not the most flexible, you know, but the most talented guy, but he's amazing, you know, on what he do. He was able to find his path to be a champion, you know what I mean?
So if you had to think about it, talent versus hard work, which one do you think is more important?
I think hard work for sure. For sure.
So it is possible for somebody who is not talented or doesn't have that Marcelo Garcia brain, you know, or Roger Gracie way of thinking, by hard work to grind and really get that skill to the highest level they can.
Man, I think anyone can get there, you know, anyone can get there. But as I said, you can has the best technical level, but if you get someone who's is too talented and had worked hard also, it's gonna be hard. Like if you live in a generation with like a Rafa Mendes, for example, it's gonna be hard for you to beat that guy. You know what I mean? If you're not as talented, you can beat him. We've seen guys beating him who are not that talented. Yeah, I think anyone can get there, but it's gonna be just a little bit harder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They got to put in the extra, right? The little extra effort.
Well, and that's something that we often talk about is like life is not fair, you know. And like you mentioned Rafa, you know, like I watch him and I almost think to that point, and all the respect to Rafa, like all my respect goes to him. He's one of my idols, but like it's kind of not fair. It kind of sucks. I have to work 10 times more than he does because, you know, there is something in his head that just makes it so phenomenal, and he can maneuver and discover and really go through these motions that a lot of us cannot, you know. So sometimes I feel it's not fair.
Yeah, man. You know, this is like
I'm gonna quit. Yeah. That's it. I'm quitting. I'm done with this. I'm done with this nonsense.
Man, this is like a forever, like eternal discussion, you know, because what is talented? What is talent, right? Like, are they born with it, or while they were kids, they were just, you know, they developed something, you know, maybe their parents put them in situations that they develop more than, you know, other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it's subjective too, because you're talented amongst your peers. So somebody who's super talented in one country may not have the same success rate in another, right? Somebody who's training in a new facility in, you know, Central Europe, going back to Carlos, might be the most talented person in that area. But if you move them to New York or you move them down to Brazil, maybe not so much.
Yeah, sure. And I really think that this is more of like how you raise your children, you know, how you were brought up, you know, than like a God-given gift, you know. I think like genetics play a factor, but it's not that important. You know, you can see like a similarity from people from Manaus, you know. These guys are people who were brought up at the beach, you know. They always have like a more coordination, you know, like they have more, you know what I mean? Like I think they've played more outside, you know, like the guys from Manaus, you know, some guys were brought like close to rivers, close to the nature, you know. I think that all that plays like a really big factor on how you were developed, you know? Yeah,
you know, and funny you say that, interesting that you say this, because there's few books that I've read about this, but one that comes to my mind is called Atomic Habits, and it talks about like the author essentially asked the questions: how is this possible that Brazil is so phenomenal in soccer? Like, how is that possible? Why Brazil, not any other country? How is it possible that Russia is so good with gymnastics?
Wow.
Well, I'm just saying, maybe Russia is not a good example for today, but there are these countries, there are these, regions, not even countries, but these regions where they have developed these recipes. And it's not because they work hard, it's about the circumstances that they surrounded. They've been surrounded by from the childhood, from the young thing. What is that game that you guys play in Brazil? Is like I don't know what it's called, but it's like a heavy soccer ball. It's not a soccer ball, but it's like a heavy ball, and I think it's like 3-on-3 if I'm not mistaken. Do you know what I'm talking about or no?
But is it played like soccer?
Yeah, you play like a soccer, but it's like a very
no, it is like I know what I'm saying. We play soccer but not in the field, right?
Right.
It's like in a concrete court.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. What is that called?
So it's five. It's in English. It's futsal. Futsal in
futsal. Yeah, that's it.
Futsal.
Yeah. So the author was talking about this, and they said because there's not a lot of spaces, they play. And correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me the truth here, because you're the source here. But they said because there's not a lot of space in Brazil, they play this soccer game with a very heavy ball in a small spaces within like concrete walls, and that makes them phenomenal. When they are in their teens and they start playing actual soccer on a large field, that's what separates them from everybody else. Is that some truth to that or no?
Man, I read a book that it says the same thing. It made perfect sense for me. Like the author says the same thing that you said. So why the players in Brazil are more skillful than the guys from Europe, for example?
Right.
So he says about futsal, right? So everyone in Brazil, there's a lot of courts here in Brazil that we play futsal. Like every kid have played a lot on these courts, and on this type of soccer, you have to move, on shorter spaces, and you get the ball more often than playing in the field. So you keep the ball more often in your feet. And in order to dribble someone, you have to maneuver in a shorter space.
Yeah.
Right. So people start to develop different skills. Right. Then a guy who, imagine someone who plays in the field and he doesn't receive the ball that much. He's not actually playing with the ball in their feet as much as someone who's playing futsal. The ball is always on your feet, and you have to pass quick, or you don't have to dribble quick, and that's what's the difference. And I read a book who says exactly what you were saying, man. It's like it makes perfect sense.
See, Gary, I read books. I'm right on something.
But if he wouldn't have backed you up, I wouldn't have believed you.
Of course you wouldn't. Of course you wouldn't. Listen, Fabio, part of this competition journey for all of us is, one, we talked about training smart, but you also talked about injuries. And as much as, we don't wish anybody to be injured, it does happen, right? And this could be anything from bruising because of the physical contact sport that we love, but it also could lead into something a little bit more important. And I know you have your fair share of injuries, and some of them were in the worst times ever. Talk to us a little bit about this. What is going through your head when you are unfortunately, experiencing an injury, whatever it might be. Do you have some good stories from your path, from your life, that really puts you in these disadvantage points, and you had to overcome this mentally and then physically, obviously, because we do need to heal?
Yeah, man, I had a few actually events in my life that brought me stronger. The last one, which was maybe June, it was June last year of 2021. I had a hip surgery. right? So I hadn't competed in like maybe 1.5 years because of the pandemic and all everything that was happening in the world. And then I had the hip surgery, and when I went to the surgery room, I came back to my resting room there, and I woke up. I was kind of alone, you know, and I was like, man, you know, that again. I opened up my cell phone, and I went straight to the IBJJF website, right? And right on that moment, they had opened the registration. It was going to be in like 3 months from there, you know. And I told myself, okay, this is gonna be a challenge, but I'm gonna be ready to compete on that. And then I was the first one who made the registration for Worlds, you know, in all belts, you know. And I did that challenge to myself. And once I finished like the registration, I started to listen to some music. Like I started crying, you know, like, you know, I can do that, you know. And I had to stay like 6 weeks without stepping my right leg into the ground. So I was sitting for 6 weeks and laid down. And then when I started to do like a stronger work, I went really, really hard, man. Like I had my routine. I didn't miss a thing, you know. I didn't miss a thing. Everything that I wrote there, my physiotherapy, my strength conditioning, my jiu-jitsu, everything that I did perfect. And in like 3 months, I was ready. You know, I was ready to go. And even to go to the US because of the pandemic, I had to stay like 15 days in another country. So I traveled to Ecuador to my good friend's Fernando Soluso academy. I stayed at his academy. I was left there. And it was a really good moment for me because I had to look a lot to myself, you know, like I had like a lot of internal conversations. I had a really good camp there. It was really hard, you know, it was really hard. And then I traveled to the US. When I got into the US and I went to the competition, like on the warm-up area, I started to listen to the same music that I was listening into the hospital, you know. Mm-hmm. And then I started crying, but my tears were for happiness, you know, joy. that I did it. Yeah, it was joy, man. I was so happy to be there. And that brought me like, you know, like a feeling of like, you know, I will do my best, you know, no one, I can only lose to myself, you know, like, or to someone who's better than me. And then when I went there, I did my best. I lost to Gianni, who's a really good grappler, you know, and I did my best to beat him, but I couldn't, you know, he beat me by 2-0. And when I finished the competition, I was really happy still, you know, like, because I did my best. I know I didn't lose to myself. I did everything that I could to be there. And that was really, you know, it was really a spiritual, you know, event also for me, you know. Well,
first of all, congratulations, because recovering from hip surgery within 3 months, forget about recovery to the full competition level of operation of your body, that's mind-blowing in my opinion. So congratulations on that. But I want to pick your brain about your routine, because it appears there's two components here. We have the mental state, right? This is this will, this drive, the power, the hunger to push forward, right? To desire that goal. But then we have also the physical component, right? So it appears to me as you have this physical drive, right? I want to do this. This is my goal, and I'm going to do everything I can. But there's this physical component that, well, is not working right now because you just had a surgery. So you need to recover. And then not only recover, you need to get back to your top-level performance as far as your body is concerned, right? And then hopefully you even, you know, going past that to be even better, right? So talk about the routine. What do you establish for yourself? What do you need to do every single day for those 3 months to get to the point of, I'm ready to go in and I'm ready to compete?
Okay, first of all, like it was a different kind of preparation because I had to, as you said, get into my physical state that I can start training, right? So first of all, I went to like a nutritionist, you know. I went to a sports doctor. I went to, I talked to my strength conditioning coach, and I have like a really good physiotherapist here in Brazil who are my friends, you know, my partners. And I talked to everybody, and I made them like to, you know, interact with each other, so they could like drive me into the best path to get better, you know. So I got my planner, you know, I have a planner, like a book, and I started to write everything that I had to do. Like I have to do conditioning, I have to talk to my physiotherapist and do everything that they would tell me, you know. So in my first part was more like physiotherapy, strength conditioning, because I had to do physiotherapy for my hips, but I have my upper body, you know, so I had to keep working on my upper body. So I talked to my strength conditioning coach. He gave me some specific training so I could do, you know, keep working on my upper body. I did that. I went to my nutritionist. She made me like the plan that I had to follow up. I did everything right from the start to the end. And this was the first part. So I did everything that I could do in my power on that situation, you know.
So how long did that take?
How
long did that take?
That took kind of 1.5 months.
So out of 3 months, half of that is just to get you to the point where you are operational.
Yeah.
Your body just works.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from that point, you're pushing it to be an athlete.
Yeah.
So how things change?
Actually, it was like this. I had six weeks that I couldn't step on the floor, but I was doing like a physiotherapy, and I would do like anything in my power that I could do with my upper body.
Okay.
So I was like a guy on a wheelchair, you know, like I could do some things, but not everything. And then once I finished that 6 weeks, I started doing not jiu-jitsu, but I had like 2 more weeks of strengthening even more my body to get into the jiu-jitsu. So it was like a kind of 2 months of like preparation, and then I had 1 month to train jiu-jitsu and the conditioning, you know. So man, I was really happy with the result, you know. It was one of the best shapes I ever been to my life, you know.
I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, that's mind-blowing, Gary.
Well, so what is it like? We often talk about like when people take breaks for whatever reason, injury or work or family, they take some time off, and how much you kind of lose skill-wise, you know. And I'm wondering for you, what was it like those first few times back on the mat? Did everything, you know, I'm assuming there's a ton of muscle memory. Did it come back quickly? Were you worried about it at all? Did you even notice as far as the technique was concerned?
Man, I was watching a lot of videos, right? It's crazy. It is crazy how our brain works. Like I've seen some studies saying that our body doesn't know when we are training on our minds or when we are actually training. You know what I mean? And I watched a lot of videos that kept me sharp. The only hard thing for me was at the beginning. I was kind of afraid of doing some movements, you know. This is the hardest part. So until I lost that fear, you know, when I lost it, it was cool, you know. I could do everything. So and there's something crazy. Say it better.
No, so you're talking about you didn't want to hurt yourself again, right? That's why you were concerned about movements, right?
Have you ever had like a serious injury?
Oh yeah.
Like every time you get back on the mats, you try to protect the area. You know, you don't know exactly what movements you're gonna injure you again. You know, so we are always like a little bit, you know, afraid of that. But there's something crazy about when we don't train. I don't know if you feel that also. But I don't know, it feels like your mind's clear. it's clearer, right? So sometimes you start doing techniques that you never done before. You know, when we are training too hard, sometimes we get stuck into that, you know, A game. You only do that stuff, you know, and you get stuck in that. And every time that I got injured and I came back, I started doing some things that I never did before. You know what I mean? Some games like, for example, I started playing more half and butterfly guard on this period, you know, and I improved a lot by doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting? It's a whole new skill set.
Isn't it interesting how unfortunate event can put us in the position where we can start exploring other things? And like I know exactly what you mean, because this happened to me the times when I had my knee surgeries, particularly. Like you can't work where you used to work. So in a way you are forced to let go and you have to adopt new things, and that leads into new skills. And then, you know, 6 months later, like, you're doing stuff that you've never thought about doing. Like, it just kind of falls right in place, you know?
Yeah, I would like to understand why that happens, you know? I don't know if you are more relaxed, if you're like, your brain's more open to things, you know? But that's really interesting, you know?
Yeah.
It's really interesting for me.
Anything, has it ever something gone wrong, meaning in a sense, are you talking about a lot of success right now, right? You went 3 months from a surgery to a competition. I mean, that's phenomenal. But let's talk about when something didn't go according to plan. You know, how should we frame our minds where you know, we find ourselves frustrated, when we find ourselves, you know, this sucks. We might be in a point of, I mean, we had plenty of guests on the show talking about even thinking about quitting. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done with this. This is just too much. Have you ever been that spot?
Man, I've been, but not because of injuries. I don't know why, man. Like, every time that I had like a serious injury, I you know, it drove me on a harder state of mind, you know. So I got it's as I got stronger from my injuries, mentally saying. One time that I got really, so I had that a couple times in my life, which or I was training too hard for a long period, and then, you know, you start to. When I was a brown belt, I used to cut to featherweight, right? So it was a really hard cut for me. It was like 7 to 8 kilos every time, and I used to compete a lot to get my mind sharp and. So, like, the best training actually is competition, right? If you want to compete, the best training is competition. So I wanted to compete every weekend. And then by the end of, I think it was 2014. Yeah, 2014, I had competed like 16 times, you know, 18 times. And I had cut to feather almost on every single competition. So I was like cutting, gaining my weight back, cutting, weight back. And that was driving me crazy. You know, I couldn't eat much. And by the end of the year, I said, man, I can't do that anymore. You know, I want to quit jiu-jitsu. This is crazy. This is affecting my health. I had like a couple infections, like skin infections during that period also. So I really thought about quitting jiu-jitsu, but after I took like a break, you know, like a 1 month break. And I just gave up half idea of giving up.
You're not the first. I was gonna say, you're not the first person who said it's not the jiu-jitsu that makes people want to quit. It's all that other stuff around it that's built around it. The weight cuts, you know, the time away from family, things like that. But oftentimes we hear people talk about the weight cuts and how hard it can be in that roller coaster that you're on. After that 1 month break and you came back, were you like, enough? I'm not, you know, I need to fight at a different weight to maintain where I need to be and my happiness with the sport?
Yeah, I think when I got back there, I was still a little bit, you know, confused, you know, but I always had like a mind of, okay, if I'm doing something, I'm gonna go till the end, you know. And then eventually, like, jiu-jitsu is something is part of me, you know. It's not something like when I had my my ACL surgery, I realized how much jiu-jitsu is part of me, you know? Like I can't live without jiu-jitsu, man. Like I think you two are the same, but you know, when you realize that, you start getting, you know, gaining your sense back, you know, and with time, all these, you know, bad feelings, all the bad thoughts, they vanish, you know. And I have this, everything goes away, right? The good moments goes away, the bad moments goes away. And sometimes when I feel bad, you know, I just say to myself, okay, let's just wait a little, you know, let's, you know, allow that to flow and feel what's my next, what my next feeling's gonna be, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I let it flush, you know? So I always try not to take decisions when I'm feeling too happy or too sad, you know what I mean? So I try to always be like on a state of mind of like how do you say that? When you're like
stable?
Stable, yeah, exactly, stable. Mm-hmm. When you're stable. So that's what's made me stay there, you know. And other situation that, you know, always got me on like thinking about if I should keep jiu-jitsu or not in my life is that like I come from my family has money here in Brazil, right? So I came from a good family, and I saw a lot of friends and people who study with me getting rich, you know, getting wealthy, and I was like, fuck, man, I'm not getting too much money from this, you know. I'm just, you know, working my ass off. I'm gaining skills, but I'm not making enough money to, you know, to have like the life that I want to. But I put this in my mind that my life is different from there. I stopped comparing myself to other people, you know, from my friends who are not from jiu-jitsu. And I understand that my life from since I was like 14 till now, it was all like, it was all towards developing skills, you know, and not making money, you know what I mean? And I started like, of course, I always taught classes, which was giving me, you know, some financial help. And then I started to teach even more, which every year it was getting better, you know, like I started to teach more, have more privates, have more, you know, get more seminars, all this stuff. And that helped me a lot on like, okay, I'm on the right path. I'm improving each year, you know, financially and jiu-jitsu wise. And this is the path that I have to follow, you know. And if I get good enough, I'm gonna be rewarded for that, you know. And every year is getting better, man. And I can't wait to see where jiu-jitsu can take me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think you talk about something really important, and just in life in general. Like when we see other people getting more successful than we are, and we see this in jiu-jitsu even, it's even more visible. When our peers, you know, oh, I started with this guy, but he's getting better than me. You know, these are like the moments where it's very easy for us to quit and just us to give very discouraged. Like we can get into these dark zones. And you talk about something that I think is very important for all of us is stop looking at everybody. Appreciate what they have, but really look inside and see what you can do, because your path is different. Your journey is different. You're not them. If you were them, it would be different, but you're not. You're here. So let's focus on me and see how we can go through this journey and make yourself successful, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. This maybe mentally was the hardest part for me, you know, from all my career. Like to see my childhood friends, you know, doing well, you know. Sometimes we compare ourselves to only financially, you know, and sometimes it's like the wrong perspective to look at, you know. Sometimes people are getting richer, but they're not, you know, doing well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes they're depressed and, you know, they are fat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now, like, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, a lot of times you'll see you make those comparisons, and then but you don't see that like their family life isn't that great. They're, everybody around them is unhappy. They're unhappy. They're getting divorced. All those other things. And I think what we were talking about just a minute ago, you got to find your priorities, and you got to find what you really believe is going to make you happy. And I'm going to guess 9 times out of 10, it isn't what anybody else is doing. It's the path that you got to find for yourself, that you got to cut out for yourself. And, and again, to go back a little bit, it's like what you were talking about emotional in your decision-making. It seems like there's a stability there as well. So you got to find that as well. Right.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like, everyone, I think everyone has their own demons to battle.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
For sure.
Those were my biggest demons, maybe, to fight that and to stop comparing myself to other people. But man, like, every time that I stop and look to my life, everything that I've been through, I'm really, really grateful, really happy to have jiu-jitsu in my life, because like jiu-jitsu made me who I am, not competition wise, not on that terms, but like, all my values, my character were built on top of jiu-jitsu. And in my opinion, man, like jiu-jitsu is the biggest tool for personal development, that we have here in the world. And I'm grateful to have that. And when I think about how many people we impact by teaching classes, my students, I see people improving, like not jiu-jitsu, but like in their lives, in their mental health. I think this is the most incredible thing that jiu-jitsu can bring, and that makes me makes a lot of sense to me on get going on this track,
Yeah, most definitely. And you talk about you making impact on your students. Let's pivot this a little bit and let's go back. Let's go back to the 14-year-old Fabio. How in the world are you stepping on the mat for the first time? What gets you into jiu-jitsu?
Man, I always loved martial arts. I was crazy about all the movies, like Van Damme movies, Jackie Chan movies. I wanted to do kung fu. I thought kung fu was the shit. So, so I really wanted to do that. I did judo, I did karate, and I did kung fu for like a while also before I was 14. And my dad always used to tell me, you should do jiu-jitsu. It's the best martial art. Look at, Gracie, what he's doing.
Did your dad know what jiu-jitsu is? Was he training? Was he familiar?
No, he never trained before. Like, he never did any martial art actually, but he likes it. But he knew that I really liked that, and he was like encouraging me because of the UFC, right? He was encouraging me to go there and try jiu-jitsu. And I didn't want to, I thought it was gay, I was like, man, all these wet men, hugging each other. I don't want that, And then like, my older cousin, who's like almost my brother, he's like my older brother. He told me he was going to try jiu-jitsu at this gym close to my house, and he took me with him. I went to the gym actually to watch the Muay Thai class. I said, okay, going with you, but I'm going to the Muay Thai class, And then I started to watch the Muay Thai class. It was like they were happening at the same time. So I was watching both, And I said, okay, man, I might try this jiu-jitsu thing tomorrow, And then next day, my cousin went back there. I went with him. And first time I did jiu-jitsu, I just fell in love with it, I was like, man, this is so fun,
Do you remember like walking into that room for the very first time, stepping on the mat? Did you have a uniform on?
Yeah, man.
Did you have a gi on or no?
Yeah, I had it. I had the gi, and I remember my first row, man. It was with a girl, She
How did that go?
She beat my ass up. So yeah, she beat my ass up. I was like, intrigued. I was like, wow, man, this is so nice, And then I started training every day. And the gym that I used to train, you know, I don't know if you ever heard about Jorge Patino, you know, yeah. It was his gym, Macaco Gold Team. So it was much more focused on MMA. So there were a lot of tough guys training there, you know, tough and rough guys, like bouncers, police officers, you know, all these kind of people. And these guys were like just smashing me. They were like merciless, you know. But I really liked it. I know jiu-jitsu back then, man, it was like so crazy. So only the crazy guys would stick with it, you know, because we would get beat up by everybody and show up that next day. And that was exactly what happened to me. You know, I was getting beat up every day as a kid. And I was like, oh man, this is so fun. I wanna get good at this, you know. And then I started training every day since day one. I trained the first day, came back the next one, and next one I started training every day since the first time I stepped on the mats.
So at which point do you meet Fabio Gurgel?
I met. It was like this. I didn't know I wanted to keep jiu-jitsu like to live from jiu-jitsu, you know. Mm-hmm. So I was 18. I went to Australia. I lived 1 year in Australia. I taught jiu-jitsu there I was a purple belt, and I taught jiu-jitsu there. I made some money there, you know. I said, oh man, you know, like as some friends of mine were like working like washing dishes, you know, like doing like cleaning services. I was teaching jiu-jitsu and getting more money than them. I was like, oh man, you know, this is kind of fun, you know. And then I came back to Brazil after 1 year. And Macaco, I used to train with Macaco and Diego La Torre. They were like sharing the class for a long time. Macaco left the class that I was training, and Diego kept, you know, teaching me till my purple belt. And then when I came back from Brazil, from Australia, I got to Brazil. Macaco had left to America, and Diego, who was my teacher, he was not teaching anymore. He started doing his own stuff, and I was okay, man. I need to go to somewhere where they take jiu-jitsu seriously. And I was a huge fan of Marcelo Garcia, right? And I started to look around, you know, see where he trained. I discovered which was at Alliance with Fabio Gurgel. And a friend of mine, he went there who was training at Macaco also. He moved to Alliance to train there. And he called me one day, you know, out of nothing, man. Like, he called me one day. He never called me before. Hey, man, you want to come to Alliance to train one day, man? They're going to like you here. You know, you are tough. People, they're going to enjoy you training with them here. I said, okay, man, let's do this. And then I went to visit. First class that I took, my mind was blown, man. I was, oh, my God, man. This is completely another level, you know. I saw, like, I had my class with Fabio, you know. I saw the guys training, all the world champions, you know, and I was astonished. And then I moved right away, you know. I moved to Alliance. That was 2008. Yeah, at the end of 2008. I was delighted with the difference of the level, you know. And
who was your training partner? So, like, you walk into that room and you say, "There's all these world champions." You know, Fabio Gurgel's running the place. You know, there's clearly a cultural change, right, from your previous place to the new one. You know, who are your training partners? Just to frame it in for those who are listening, who are you training with?
Man, I was training with everybody. You know, like there we wouldn't choose who we would train with, but the guys were on the mats, you know. Michael Lange, Bruno Malfacini, and Bernardo Faria, they moved to Alliance at the same time as me. So we got there at the same time. I used to train with Gabriel Goulart, Sergio Moraes, Tarsis Humphreys, Leo Nogueira, Antonio Peinado.
That's a tough room right there.
Bro, it was crazy, you know. My first row, I don't know if you ever heard about Gabriel Goulart. You know
I know of him. Yeah, I've never met him, but I know of him, yeah.
Yeah, man, like, this guy was a freak when he was a color belt. He won worlds as a blue belt. He won weight and absolute as a purple, being a middleweight. and he won 2 times worlds as a brown belt. So I got there. He had recently promoted to brown belt. He was my first role there. It was a purple belt that trained him. Man, he smashed me, man. I was like, oh shit, man. What the fuck is this, you know? But it was so fun. And Thomas, this boy, was the one guy that I really, he wasn't going to Alliance every day because he's from a different city. He would go like once or twice a week. And every time he was there, we would like pair up and do like a really good rounds, you know.
But that's when you meet him, right? Around the purple belt, you meet that's when we meet.
Yeah,
Thomas,
yeah.
Right?
We
you guys became
belts,
became pretty good friends, right? Am I?
Yeah, yeah. He was my main training partner for like a long period, you know. And he helped me a lot during my career. Man.
So you got some good stories about him, right? You're gonna tell us embarrassing stories.
When we finish the podcast here, I can tell you.
I won't stop recording.
No, Tom is a phenomenal guy. We just had him on the show. I know you listened. We had just had him on the show. What a great stuff he's doing with his academy and all that. So you going through all of this. You get through your purple, you're moving out through your brown, you know. Do you remember that moment approaching to your black belt, or is that a blur? Like, do you?
No, of course. I have all my career like really clear on my mind. You know, I was a blue belt back then at Macaco. I used to compete. I competed a lot. I won a lot. I won a couple stuff as a blue belt, then I moved to purple, and I don't know why, man. Maybe it was because of the pressure of being an Alliance, you know. I started to not compete as well, you know what I mean? I would have I was doing really well in training. Fabio would say, man, you're gonna be world champion this year, you're doing really well, and then I would not fight well, you know. I was one competition, I would submit everybody. Next competition, I will lose like first match to, you know, someone like not known, you know what I mean? I was oscillating a lot, so this was challenging for me to, you know, get my mind right and start competing well. And a guy who helped me that a lot was Cobrinha, because when I got my brown belt, I went to LA and I stayed with him for like 2 months. So I was able to pick a lot of his mind, you know. And when I got back to Brazil, I changed my routine, you know, like I changed everything that I did and I did better. And since like my first competition at brown belt, I was just already a different guy. And I just got improving, you know, and until I had like 2 really good years as a brown belt. And then Fabio promoted me to black belt.
Walk me through that day. Walk me through that day when you got your black belt. What did that look like? First of all, did you know it was coming, or was it a surprise?
Man, I knew it because like the year before, I had medaled in every major competition. I got second at Worlds, and then that was 2013. 2014. I won Brasileiros, I won Pan Ams, you know, I won South Americans, and then I was supposed, right? I was one of the favorites to win the Worlds, and then I fought Worlds against Marcio André, first fight, and then he beat me 6-4, and I was devastated, right? So, but I knew that, you know, that was enough to be like to get the Fabio's black belt, you know what I mean? By winning all the competitions before. So when I got back to São Paulo, I knew that maybe in a couple of weeks he would promote me. And then that I remember I was training on Monday at night, you know, and I think it was 4th of July. Yeah. I was training at night, and he got there. He got hit there at the end of the training with the black belt, and he gave me the black belt, you know. Which was pretty nice also.
What's going through your mind when that belt is getting tied around you?
Man, I was really happy, you know, like now I'm like, when we get to the black belts is when things that really matter, you know, are going to happen. You know what I mean? It's just like if you are like a race car driver and you get to F1, you know, So I was really happy, and I was really anxious to start competing at the black belt level, you know.
Yeah, I don't remember who we had on, but they said when they got their black belt, it was like, okay, now I get to really compete against the best in the world. I've been working up to this moment, and now it's really when I got to test myself. Was it the same way for you?
It was, but it took me a while to adapt my mind to compete well against those guys, you know. Like, I remember my first match at the black belt. It was in a São Paulo Open. I fought Teodoro Canal from GF team, right? He's a really tough guy. I used to watch him compete against Fabinho, against all those guys. And I was really anxious. So I started the match. I swept him, passed his guard, and mounted. So I scored like 9 points in like 2 minutes, you know. And I was so anxious that I got gas out, man. And then I was fighting him. I tried to stall, and I got some negatives. And then he was able to score 9 points on me also. So it was 9-9. And he had like I had some penalties. So I lost that match because of my mind. You know, I was too nervous competing. And that affected a lot of my performance. And it took me a while to be calm, you know, and feel that I could beat anyone there. You know, it took me a while to understand that. But it was a good journey, man. It was like a really, I think sometimes when we struggle to do something is when we learn the most. You know, it's easy for someone who, you know, they just go there and do it and they win. Sometimes it's so natural for them. They don't know what's really going on. You know, they can't even like help other people because they never been through like this kind of struggle, you know what I mean? And I think from my experience, all the struggles that I had, like trying to compete on that level, that made me maybe even like a better coach, you know. I think I can help more people just from understanding that everybody has to struggle a little, you know. It's not easy, you know.
If you makes you empathetic.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really gives you these points of anchors in your mind where you can really analyze the situation. And even though you might not have an answer, I think what's important is that you know things will be okay. And often when we are in the dark zone of not knowing what's going on, it's hard to even see what's the next step. When you look at your from 14 all the way up to now, right? We talked about a lot of obstacles, challenges, physical, mental, and so on. And you've achieved quite a bit of success in your career. What is the one thing that was the hardest for you from the first time on the mat to today?
What do you mean, like an event, or
just
maybe the mental struggle to get on the level, you know, to always training is one thing. When you step on the mat, man, is to compete at a tournament is a whole different beast, you know. And to get my mind right and to feel comfortable there, it was a really, really long and tough journey, you know, for me. Like, I had a lot of ups and downs. Like, I was competing really well when I was a blue belt, but I had nothing in my mind back there, you know. I just used to go there and compete, you know. So I was just going with the flow. I used to compete really well. I started to think too much, to overthink. I started to compete really bad as a purple belt. So I was oscillating, as I told you before. And then I started to get my mind right when I was a brown belt. But once I felt that I had a really sharp mind while I was a brown belt. So I felt like I could beat anyone. But when I got the black belt, it was a challenge for me to understand that I could beat all those guys also, you know, and to get my mind right, to get in the zone while I was competing. It was a really tough challenge, and I had to, you know, work my mind around that. And nowadays I feel really comfortable. You know, I really like competing. Some people don't like, you know, but I really like competing. I like being there. I like feeling the adrenaline, and being able to deal with it, you know. So this, I think, was the most challenging thing for me, you know, getting my mind right.
Do you think that difficult part was because you were looking up to these guys and you were you were thinking about them as they are much better? Or why do you think was so hard for you once you got your black belt to make that step over, to see yourself as good as everybody else?
I think this one factor that you said, being too respectful, you know. I think I used to look up to the guys and think they were better than me. This is something that really got in my way. And another thing that, you know, maybe, you know, when you compete, you have to get into the zone, you know, you have to feel comfortable and like manage your emotions. Sometimes you get too much like pumped up. You go too hard and you get tired, or you do, you know, a stupid mistake and you lose. Sometimes you try to get too calm and you are apathetic, you know, like you don't move, you know, you're like, you kind of freeze. So to find that balance for me, it was a challenge as well, you know. Nowadays, I know exactly how I have to feel to get into the zone, you know. And these two things, I think it was the most challenging things to accomplish mentally for me.
Well, you've done quite well. I mean, let's just say that.
Thanks, bro.
Listen, Fabio. Before we wrap this up, you know, end of each episode, we have this cool thing that we are doing. So, whoever was sitting in your seat asked a question, but they didn't know that you're gonna be the one answering this. So, you know, it's this interesting dynamic that we have. Gary's gonna take a lead on this.
Yeah, some of them are serious, some of them are not, and this is one of the not ones. Rob Ingram from McDojo Life wants to know, what was your most embarrassing moment
in jiu-jitsu?
Well, he said jiu-jitsu or not, whatever comes to your mind, whatever pops up.
Man, I had a couple. Man, in school, I was in school there. I was maybe, I don't know, 12 or 13, you know. I didn't do jiu-jitsu back then. But there was this really tall guy who was like a kind of a pain in the ass, you know. I never suffered, like here in Brazil, everybody suffers and bully people as well, you know. So we bully and get bullied. So this guy was a pain in the ass, man. And one day we started to argue at the patio there in school, you know. And this guy kicks me in the thigh, you know. He gives me a kick. Man, I used to do kung fu, right? So I could kick really high, but this guy was really tall for me. And then I tried to kick him. I missed. Man, I felt like, you know, when your base foot slips out. So I threw that really, you know, hard kick, and my base foot slapped out, man. I fell into my head, man. You know, I was like, fuck, brother.
Was there a bunch of people around?
Yeah, a lot of, like, all the whole school.
They were coming out to watch the fight.
Well, at least good there was no video cameras, because you would be on Instagram right now.
Yeah, I would be viral too. No, yeah, there was maybe the jiu-jitsu. I never had like a really embarrassing moment, you know. Like I feel bad for some fights that I had. Like maybe my second fight against Gabriel Rolo, I was going to fight on this event, which was like a matchmaking event, you know. So it was only a fight against him, and I was really afraid, man. When I got there in the mat, I just froze, bro. I froze. I couldn't do anything. I was, you know, scared shitless, you know. And then he just swept me, passed my guard, mounted, and finished. Like, I didn't fight, you know. And when I watched that fight, I say, like, man, where I was, you know. He's a really tough guy. Maybe he would have submitted me also, but I didn't fight, you know. When I watched that fight, I feel embarrassed, you know.
We all have those moments when we look back and we just think, oh boy, what was I thinking here?
I get him like in the middle of the night where I'm laying in bed and I remember something that I did that was really stupid. And I'm just like, oh no. And I mean, I'm home alone, or, you know, I'm laying next to my wife and she's asleep, and it's just like, oh man, I can't believe I did that, or I said that. It's so awful. And it was 30 years ago. Like, what does it matter? Why does it stick with you, man? It makes your heart hurt when you think of it.
It certainly does. It certainly does.
Yeah, there's this meme, right, where like there's a picture of the guy going to sleep, and then the brain goes there and say, okay, guys, let me open this drawer here. Embarrassing moments. You know?
That's me.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, Fabio. Well, what a beautiful story. What a beautiful journey that you've had, full of successes, but the path was not as rosy, is not as beautiful as some might see looking from the outside. So we do appreciate you sharing some of those challenging moments, some of those wisdom that you have shared with us. And it's not about being easy, but it's all about grinding and really working through some of those obstacles, and failure is part of the success. We can't avoid it. Where can people find you? Where can our listeners get a hold of you if anybody wants to engage with you or ask you more questions? Social media, websites, anywhere?
Yeah, man. Instagram, I think the best one right now, right? It's at Fabio Caloi. Just hit me up if you have any questions or wanna just, you know, get to know more about me. And I wanna thank you too, guys. It was really fun.
Oh, thank you.
I hope we can meet on the mat someday.
Well, if you are ever in the Chicago area, you know, make sure we stay in touch, and make sure you let me know. I would love to have you for the seminar at my academy if that ever opportunity presents itself.
Man, it will be an honor and awesome.
Beautiful.
All right, Fabio.
Fabio, thank you so much.
Let's wrap this up. Have a great one, and we'll see you around.
Thank you.
Okay,
Peace.
thanks, Gary. Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.